Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence. Are you a fan of Gourmand fragrances? I know I certainly am, and I have tons of Gourmand fragrances in my collection. And whenever I'm looking for that pick-me-up, I typically pick a Gourmand fragrance and it really puts me in that mood immediately. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about 10 Gourmand fragrances that you should know about in 2022. So make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin this video and I tell you about 10 Gourmand fragrances that I think you should know about in 2022, I do want to mention that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. Make sure to enable all notifications by clicking on the bell icon and give this video a thumbs up if you like this type of content. So every now and again, a Gourmand fragrance will come out that kind of pioneers the genre in a unique way and does things in a way that other fragrances in the past have not necessarily done it in. And usually that fragrance is embedded in my memory, and all of the fragrances in this list are special in some way or another. And I think as we go into 2022, these are 10 Gourmand perfumes that I think everybody here should know about. And with that being said, let's just go ahead and dive into the list. And the first one that I want to talk about is by Gallagher Fragrances, and this one is called Wicked Good. Now, this fragrance is a beautiful chocolate fragrance with Madagascan vanilla and tonka bean. So it has a few Gourmand ingredients. It's a little creamy, it's vanillic, it has a bit of a powdery nuance to it as well. If you're a fan of chocolate perfumes, this is one of the holy grails out there, absolutely. Now, there's a sister company to this called PARFUMS. They have a fragrance called Baklava. That one is also a really unique Gourmand fragrance with honey and, just a bunch of almond, a bunch of other sweet edible ingredients. But Wicked Good, as the name implies, is a pretty good fragrance. And if you're a fan of Gourmand's chocolate fragrances specifically, you need to try Wicked Good by Gallagher Fragrances. The next fragrance that I want to talk about is by the brand Encounter Scents. And this one is called Romantic For Her. Now, Romantic For Him smells pretty good too. Romantic For Him kind of smells like a toss-up between Creed Aventus and Baccarat Rouge. This is more of a floral vanilla. But the vanilla that's used in here is so sweet and sultry. It's exceptionally well done, and I happen to be a big fan of it. And despite the fact that it has For Her written on the label, it's perfectly unisex in my opinion. So Romantic For Her, an amazing, amazing vanilla fragrance with a natural smelling vanilla, super high quality. I personally really, really enjoy it. The next fragrance that I want to talk about is by Kilian Paris, and it's called Intoxicated. Now, of course, it's no secret that this fragrance does bear some resemblance to Amen by Thierry Mugler. This fragrance, however, is not as heavy-handed on the patchouli. I know the original Amen, a lot of people say it has like this tar note in it. I don't necessarily get that from Intoxicated, but this does have that caramel vibe. It has the ethyl maltol in there. So it has a little bit of that cotton candy, candy floss, sponge sugar vibe. I think it's an awesome fragrance, especially if you're looking for something that can veer a little bit on the darker side of things as well. So it's not just gourmand, but it's also mysterious, as opposed to some of these other fragrances that are gourmand and playful. I hope that makes sense. The next fragrance I want to talk about is a recent acquisition of mine, but boy, do I love this one. By the Greek brand Theodoros Kalotinis. This one is called Coffee Addict. This is a photorealistic coffee fragrance. I can't get enough of it. It has coffee, cacao, vanilla, and caramel. It smells like a fancy drink you would order at Starbucks, but there's more of an emphasis on the coffee, and it doesn't smell like a freshly brewed cup of coffee. It smells like the raw coffee beans, which actually happens to be my favorite coffee aroma, if you will. Exceptionally well done. If you're a fan of coffee fragrances, you need to try Coffee Addict by Theodoros Kalotinis, and then the only other photorealistic coffee fragrance that I could talk about is Follow by Kerosene. The next fragrance that I want to mention, and this is absolutely beautiful, it's by Atelier Materi, and it's called Cacao Porcelana. This is a beautiful, powdery, dusty chocolate fragrance, but it also has an animalic backbone. And so there's something a little funky in there as you give it a chance to settle down on skin, but that opening burst of powdery, chocolatey goodness is so unforgettable. You're gonna fall in love with this one if you're a fan of chocolate. So far we have 2 chocolate gourmands that I think are exceptional, certainly worth having. The next brand that we're gonna talk about is Manos Yerakinis, and this one is called Immortelle. Now, of course, Immortelle is a floral ingredient, but this one kind of smells like a cross between maple syrup and brown sugar. This is super, super, super unique in terms of a gourmand fragrance, and I love it so much. That brown sugar accord is just so delightful, so warming, so cozy. Especially if you're looking for something to wear in the winter time, you're gonna fall in love with this stuff. You're seeing that there's quite a variety of different gourmand elements, right? So it's not just chocolate, it's not just vanilla. There's a really nice blend of everything here. The next fragrance that I want to mention is a staple to my collection, and it's a fragrance that's been around for eons, it seems. And this one by Montal is Chocolate Greedy. It smells like a Ferrero Rocher chocolate. You got the hazelnut, the chocolate, it's a little powdery. You do have an undercurrent of vanilla as well, but this is what many people call a holy grail chocolate fragrance. Of course, if you want a little bit of tonka bean, you're gonna go with Wicked Good. If you want that animalic component, you're gonna go with Cacao Porcelana. But Chocolate Greedy is a benchmark chocolate fragrance for many people in the community and in the industry as well. Now we're getting towards the end of the list, and this is one of my favorite gourmands of all time, and I just am very proud of the creative director, who happens to be Monica Choch. She has her own YouTube channel, I'm going to link it down below, but this was her collaboration with Navitus Parfums, and this is the Embrace. People who have smelled this fragrance can vouch that it is one of the most delicious, unique, and delectable gourmand fragrances on the market, period. I would urge you to go and watch other reviews. You can watch my review as well, but if you perceive me to be a little bit biased, which I can be sometimes, watch other people's review. I urge you. And you'll see unanimously people love the Embrace. It's a beautiful fragrance composed by Sidonie Lancaster. It has sesame seed. It has honey. There's a little bit of like a coffee vibe about it as well. It is absolutely mesmerizing. I love it so much. The fragrance in my number 2 spot is a fragrance that's been around for quite some time. I know it's on the pricey side, but this fragrance is such a unique gourmand fragrance. And, you know, again, I try to offer a little bit of diversity just so you have a better idea of the different types of subgenres that would fall under gourmand. But this one is Sweetie Oud by Roja Parfum. So this has a macaroon accord in it. It's so delicious. It's at times floral and woodsy and balsamic, but then you have this creaminess from the macaroon accord, and it smells a little bit like flour, F-L-O-U-R. It's beautiful. I love it so much. It's such a unique gourmand. Certainly one of the most unique gourmand fragrances that I have smelled, and now in my collection. I've mentioned this on my channel a couple of times, but Sweetie Oud by Roja Parfum is a masterpiece, in my opinion. And the fragrance in the number 1 spot, I went with an ingredient that, in my opinion, is an aphrodisiac. There has been science proving that it has an aphrodisiac effect on people, but it's an accessible gourmand ingredient that it seems like a lot of people love this ingredient, and of course it's the note of vanilla. And when I think of vanilla, there's a lot of fragrances. I mean, I mentioned Encounter Scents. Vanilla is also found in a lot of other fragrances in this list, but there's one vanilla fragrance that people time and time again mention as the holy grail vanilla. It's so natural, it's so delicious, it's so decadent, it's so flirtatious, so sexy, and of course it's none other than Ani by Nishane. This is a fragrance composed by master perfumer Cecile Zarokian. And this fragrance has blue ginger and vanilla. It also has a little bit, if I'm not mistaken, of blackcurrant. So it's a very complex vanilla, it's multifaceted. It does tend to go in a few different directions, but it's absolutely breathtaking. It's a vanilla to die for. It can be found online from a few different places. I'm gonna leave links down below if you're interested in checking any of these fragrances out, but I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you took something of value from this video. If you did, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. Make sure to enable all notifications by clicking on the bell icon. Give this video a thumbs up if you like this type of content. These were my top 10 Gourmand fragrances that you should know about in 2022. I'm excited to put together another list/review for you very soon, so we'll see you later.